Well, howdy, guys. Welcome back to the RedAss podcast. It is Monday, November 13th, and it's been a crazy 24 hours around here, man. I'll tell you what, I drove all the way down to Houston, had to go watch a rock concert. Red was playing a phenomenal show. My buddy's Kingdom Collapse had a great show. Got a chance to go hang out with a good friend of mine for dinner that night. Driving back into town, and I had a blowout on the highway coming back.
Oh,
Yeah. I lost my front driver's side tire as I was coming back into College Station, but at least I was able to get back into town, got an Uber back to the house, and got a fresh set of tires this morning, in addition to getting a windshield replaced last week and getting a headlight replaced last week. So my truck has been falling apart.
Dude, having a blowout on a tire is legit one of my only fears when driving, because there's nothing I can do to control it.
Right. Pretty terrifying stuff. It's not good, but
other than that, nothing else. Other than that, nothing really happened.
Yeah, nothing really else happened. Yeah, I would. No, I think it was
Cowboys won.
Yeah,
Cowboys demolished the Giants.
Hey, Steelers beat the Packers. Liverpool took care of business against Brentford, which I was very happy to see.
West Ham beat Forest.
Yeah, old Nottingham Forest. It's always a good time. So, yeah,
that was actually a really good match. Then the match. Well, we can get into Premier League because I feel like there's some stuff we can actually talk about this weekend or this week on the show.
Yeah. But by the way, yes, we know, we are fully aware of what's going on with the situation. We've just been joshing.
Yeah, I mean, we might get into that too.
Just
obviously, I think the headline of the weekend obviously is Army beating Holy Cross.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
maybe that's not it. Oh, I'm Roy, by the way, class of 15. Roy May, Fighting Texas class of 15, and this is the RedAss podcast.
Yep, I'm Rob White, class of 14, and yes, we are going to go ahead and get into it. It is Monday, and we've had a firing.
Apparently we've had two. I mean, Zach Arnett at Mississippi State.
Saw that too.
I've seen this a ton already this morning. Is this the first time after a football game that both coaches got fired mid-season?
I've never heard it happening before this. And I mean, at least with Jimbo's situation, as if the rumors have been floating around are all accurate, the decision was made on a Thursday, so it really didn't matter. But it certainly felt like Mississippi State's was reactionary to the afterwards, regardless.
Man, them firing Arnett, I got to be honest. Don't get me wrong. Mississippi State is not good this year. I totally understand that. But, the dude, you got to give him time, man. First of all, he was thrust into this coaching situation.
Yep.
I mean, granted, they'd still select him to be there, but, he was put into this situation that is wildly unique. I mean, the head coach before you passes away and you take over the program.
Yeah.
But you got to give him a little bit of leeway, man. You can't him in the middle of his first, near the end of his first season, but
yeah,
I mean, come on, man. Now, granted, we talked about this. I still don't understand why he didn't maintain the air raid. I will never understand that as long as I live.
No.
And maybe it was them seeing the writing on the wall with what he was trying to implement and them realizing that there's just I don't know. I certainly don't claim to know the minds of Mississippi State boosters and Mississippi State as a university or athletic department, but
no,
I thought that was a little nutso, little bit more of a knee jerk than ours was.
I mean, yeah, canning a guy after 11 games total, or is it only 10? I mean, did he didn't
Not
have
a full
game
season? How about that?
Yeah, I'd say less than a season of play, and you're in a situation where the guy, I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do this year. There's not much that he can do. Yes, I understand, recruiting and all these other things. Those are factors that take time. And you're not giving him even a little bit of time, or maybe they had somebody else in mind and this was just a holdover. I don't know for sure. Or the heavy rumor, which I don't know if I agree with it or not, but I still think it's hilarious, which is the idea of Jimbo Fisher just hopping over a couple of states, jumping over to Mississippi. And I will say this, I don't necessarily agree with the thought process. However, in my heart of hearts, the one thing I would love to see is a Lane Kiffin, Jimbo Fisher rivalry in Mississippi for the Egg Bowl. Oh my God.
Well, dude, that's never going to happen. First of
It's
all, if
the,
I'm Jimbo, I'm still sitting in the deer blind, probably
yeah.
working on my second bottle of bourbon at this point.
Oh, no doubt.
Because I mean, I don't know that's necessarily relief, but you know, people always have to understand. Like Jimbo's a competitive guy. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's parts of him where he's a little ashamed about what happened and how it all played out. You know, you don't get to that level without being somebody that wants to win and wants to win all the time.
Mhm.
And he's been to the top of the mountain too. So, you know, I'm sure that I don't know when the next time we'll see Jimbo, but I can't imagine he'll be resurfacing in Starkville. That's for sure.
I highly doubt that. That's why when the rumors were coming around, I said, probably not.
No, I mean, yeah, would we love to see those two just go at each other to, you know, to eternity? Sure, why not? Because it's
Sure.
entertaining. But you know, probably not going to
Probably not.
happen.
But we see the news break very early on Sunday morning, and kind of mixed reactions from a lot of people. Some relief, some frustration, some just back and forth between certain players, former players being pro it, some against it, and then a lot of current players. It's just a lot of reactions, and that's something that's just so common with every
Well,
single time we see this situation take place.
everybody's going to have an opinion. It's
Yeah.
fully noted that people in the national media love to dump on us. So you knew all those opinions were coming, including that just moron in San Antonio that just thinks, you know, is under the impression that there's no reason for us to think that we can ever win. Like those are the laziest takes on the face of the planet. The other lazy take will be, you know, when they jumped on us and they said we bought the class, and then if we see players leave, then it's they either came for the money or they didn't. So which is it going to be? So you're going to have these people literally backtracking on their own narratives. Like if we bought the class, then they shouldn't care who's in charge, right?
Right.
So maybe we didn't buy the class. Maybe Jimbo was right. You know, everybody's playing the NIL game, and it's just such a lazy take especially from a national perspective. Like you and me sitting around on this, you know, if we want to harp on that a little bit, that's fine. But you and I don't have exactly the sources that national writers should and do have. And so for them to have those lazy narratives drives me batty.
Well, and the narrative that always floats around, and we've been seeing it, and I will say Josh Pay really tapped in on this recently. But the idea of like, what is the prestige of a program in terms of like, how good is a coaching job? And if you look at Texas A&M, right, obviously we have the resources. We do have the facilities. Everything is there. The fan base is there. You had 103,000 people in the building to watch a 5-4 team play a 4-5 team in nasty weather. We're loyal. That's not a question. A&M
to a fault sometimes.
Yeah, well, yeah, loyal to a fault. Regardless, A&M has all the pieces there. And I think Josh hit it on the head, which was basically since 2012-13 when Johnny was here, it kind of elevated A&M in terms of what the potential of the program could be in the eyes of, the national opportunities for big head coaches. And I think he said it perfect. We just didn't get the right guy, unfortunately. I love Jimbo Fisher as a guy. I think he's got a lot of good things going about him. I'm really glad about this particular point. Our boosters did not try to go backdoor shady crap, trying to dig up some old bones that weren't there.
Yeah,
right.
Crap.
Yeah, to try to weasel out of the contract. They just said, nope, here's your check. Have fun.
Right.
At least they did that.
Well, I mean, and how do you go about firing a coach? You just kind of do it.
There's no good way to fire a person,
No, generally it's not very fun. It's certainly not comfortable. But and that kind of that leads us into what's next, right?
Sure.
And one thing Josh Pate said, I think, as fans, because fans are so fanatic and they're very emotional. So anybody outside of A&M, when he says something like this, they're not going to believe it, but it's reality. And we're probably guilty of it too.
Sure.
But if the value of a coaching job at a school is really like that value comes from what is believed in the coaching world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't worry about what you think as a fan or some stupid sports writer. The value of a job is perceived and accurately perceived by the coaching world. Mm-hmm. If that came open, would you want to coach there? What kind of job is that really? And the coaches are the ones that are going to be able to tell you honestly the truth, because fans are always going to be emotional about it, whereas coaches just see schools as opportunities to win or lose. And so coaches look at it from a professional kind of standpoint, which means what we think, feel, or hope about any sort of program doesn't matter.
Right.
It just doesn't. Like, we can sit here and say, I'd never coach there. Yeah, you would, because you're a fan. You just like, you're not looking at it from the professional perspective.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, given an opportunity, the University of Texas called me to be a coach over there. Would I take it? Yes, for two reasons. One, it's going to pay, but two, it's a great chance to tank them.
Well,
but
yes, we'd love to be the mole, right?
Right. But regardless, the point being,
Texas is a good place to coach, whether we want to admit to it or not.
Yeah. Well, Texas.
Good job.
I mean, there are a handful, I would say 15 to 18 schools in the country that are all super high profile places that, if applied correctly, could be massively huge programs. You saw it very recently happen with Georgia, as Pate was talking about. 3 decades where they were more or less, I wouldn't call them a laughing stock, but they were kind of a middle of the road SEC team. They weren't very competitive for titles. And then all it took was,
they never had terrible seasons. They just kind of were. It was like 8-win rigged. It was like 8-9 wins.
It was like us, essentially, in a lot of eyes. So they go and get the right coach at the right time. And you're seeing the fruit of their labor. They're very competitive, winning national titles, and very quickly taking over the college football world in terms of what people think is like the premier program now. All it takes is just having the right guy. Now, the question is, who is he?
Well, no, it takes more than that, but I think the dozen or so programs that are truly committed to it have everything else. So, when if you gloss over, and I'm not saying like gloss over, but if you already have the facilities and the support and the fan base, and you already have that in the bag, I think you're talking about a dozen, maybe dozen and a half programs, like you said, 15, 18 programs around the nation.
Maybe.
Where you get the right guy in, they're just going to win.
Yeah.
And Georgia is a great example of that, because Georgia, they were never a doormat.
No.
They just couldn't get over the hump. And it's exactly like Texas A&M, where we find ourselves now. Like, we just cannot get over the hump. And that's why Jimbo ultimately was fired, because he was given you're talking about 6 years of opportunities and data to look back on that he never truly got over the hump. I mean, it sucks. Like you said, I think Jimbo's a good dude, but I don't care about, your personality doesn't win games, unfortunately. Helps in recruiting, but if you don't do anything with those recruits,
I'd say, Billy Kennedy was a good guy too, and they still cut him.
One of the most fantastic people I've ever met in my life. Billy Kennedy is still a great dude.
And Rob Childress, who is one of my all-time favorites,
just couldn't get over the hump.
And there are times where, if you want to advance your program, you have to make those hard decisions. So here we are.
I was impressed with Ross just sitting there. He's like, look, and he ate it. He was like, this is my decision.
Yep.
Like, point blank. So I don't know. I was talking with a friend of mine last night about this, and I like Ross Bjork as an AD. I think he's a good AD. I don't understand some of the hate sometimes. I mean, I know everybody wants to complain about the Jimbo extension, but are we sure that was just Ross? You know what I'm saying?
Well, what happens behind closed doors, we have no idea.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless you're a region, or you directly know a region who likes to, brag about what they talked about in their meetings, you don't really know.
Yep.
So I think we need to probably address the elephant in the room. Let's talk about who's next, right?
Yep. Who is next? That is the question. A lot of names being floating around, of course.
This is my opinion, but I'm going to say a couple things real quick.
Go for it.
First of all, stop talking about Campbell and Aaron Glenn. They're not leaving the Lions.
No.
They're not coming here. Stop. No. Stop it. There's a million reasons why NFL coaches don't like going to college. And not the least of which is that he's kind of got it. Dan Campbell's kind of got it humming up in Detroit right now. They're 7-2.
Well, not even kind of humming. The entire city of Detroit is being reinvigorated by a team that has been underachieving for years, with a feel-good story from a guy like Dan Campbell, who is such a great guy. And he has really gotten this team rallied around him. And if you go back and watch the videos of the way he was talking to his team, even last year, it's like, hey, that's one. Let's keep this thing rolling. All of a sudden, the players love him. The fans love him. and he's obviously has them winning, which winning cures a lot of illnesses amongst fan bases, of course.
Look, and I love him too, but at this
Sure.
point, I can't imagine a million like he's just not coming. I don't know that he'll ever end up in the college ranks, quite frankly. So
No.
so those are completely off the list.
Yeah,
I
throw
think
him
the
out.
next one. I think the next one you knock off the list is Lanning.
Yeah.
He's going to be too expensive. We're not going to get into a bidding war. Billy Lucci already talked about like we're not going to go out and drop $1 billion for a coach.
No.
Which is why I think DeBoer over at Washington is probably off the table too. I think he's also going to be too expensive.
Sure.
He's got things going, and people are willing to pay. So then
Mm-hmm.
you start getting into the realistic options, right?
Well, like the one name that's been floated around quite a bit, and I'm sure you've seen it everywhere, is Jeff Traylor over there at UTSA.
Yeah, Traylor and Chadwell, Chadwell,
Mm-hmm.
between Liberty and Coastal, he's had a great record. You have Traylor, obviously, with his ties to Texas high school football.
Yep.
He's got UTSA, a not very good program, doing good things. So there's a lot to like about those, but the first person on my list, like at the very top of the list, is Schumann at Georgia.
And I could not agree with you more because one, young guy, two, I love the idea of us having an established head coach at our school that is very defensive heavy, defensive focused. And when you look at our historical national title, or not national title, but historically good football teams that A&M's had, those coaches were defensive minded, and they've maintained that. I mean, all throughout the years.
Well,
I would be all about that.
Your first argument in favor of it is kind of worked out with Kirby Smart.
Yeah, it didn't hurt.
And now this guy has basically worked under Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. So you love his pedigree. You obviously love what he's put out on the field at Georgia.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that you're not going to go out and pay $9 million a year for.
Well, and you don't have to. I mean, especially at his age, and like this would be his first major head coaching gig. I mean, to basically go from Georgia as a DC and then take over a big time college football program like A&M.
Yeah.
Ooh, I mean, that is a recipe that I personally am a big fan of. And I agree with you there. That's one guy that I definitely looked at. And of course, the name that everybody likes to float, Mike Elko. And I am not about it personally. I know we love the guy. He's a great guy. He was a lot of fun when he was here.
He did a great job when he was here. I just
don't know if he's the head coach material we need here.
Well, and I don't know that he'd even say yes. I mean, if you want to make the phone call and you want to interview him, that's fine. But Elko is not real high on my list as far as what would excite me. Honestly, the only one that would excite me straight up is Schumann.
And that's fair. I could get behind that. That was a guy I remember, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago when the first rumblings were starting. That was the name that got floated.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down with Schumann. He would probably be my first choice. I know that people are going to say Lanning and they're going to say DeBoer and they're going to say I've seen Norvell from FSU floated around.
Have we learned our lesson about going to get Florida State coaches?
Yeah, well, maybe this one.
Apparently not.
But he's knocking on the door of the playoffs.
True.
Why would he go anywhere?
Why?
Jimbo wasn't. All right.
Well,
Jimbo had done things at Florida State, but he hadn't done stuff lately.
Well, and when we were talking about those 15 to 18 programs, Florida State is one of them in my head. They have plenty of national titles. If you go back, obviously, I mean, but 3 total.
It's a national brand.
Yeah, they are a national brand. They've been very good. They were more of a national brand than the Florida Gators, whether people like it or not, for a good chunk of the 90s there.
Florida is unique in the sense that I think all three, well, it's not really unique, but Florida, all 3 of their schools, I think, fall into that realm. Because of Florida's success that they have had in the recent past. Just like in the state of Texas and A&M are both that program.
Yeah.
So it's but you're not going to pull Norvell from FSU. There's no way. No. And you're certain, and if you are, you're going to have to money whip him. And I think it's been made moderately clear that we're not going to go out and money whip anybody, which is why I keep kind of circling back to Schumann.
Yeah,
because I think you can. I mean, you're still going to pay him a hefty. I mean, look, you're still going to be a head coach in an SEC school, so you're not going to pay him, $500,000 contract with incentives.
No. You'll probably give him about whatever, $500 million, like $5 million a year.
I was going to say like 4 or 5 a year, maybe an incentive laced contract.
Yeah, like hey, get the bowl game, make the playoff. beat
Hey,
Texas,
can we
whatever.
start with getting to Atlanta?
Yeah, great start.
Well, and one name that hasn't I haven't heard floated yet, and he's not currently coaching, but he's had recent success. He won a national championship at Wichita State, and that's Ted Lasso. So
I mean, yeah, he just got done with his little stint over there in the UK. I mean, turned around an incredibly great team in Richmond. I mean,
AFC
absolutely.
Richmond. Well, and I feel like maybe the international coaching, kind of adds to as resume. So
Well, and new styles, new play calling. I mean, there's all kinds of things I think he can bring to the table. Plus, he's got an impeccable mustache.
well, that in of itself puts him at the top of the list. I also think, and I just think it's part of doing your due diligence, and we'll see over the next couple of games. Not that you'll be able to glean a whole lot, but
Sure.
I think you've got to, at least sit Elijah Robinson down and interview him.
I am also very okay with that because
Yeah.
everything I've heard from within the fan base, and not just that, but also within the players, they love the guy.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if they
and
play
you see,
hard
like,
for him for 3 games and he looks good,
I think he at least gets an interview.
at the end of the day, I wouldn't cry about it.
I mean, that's a whole different world though from Schumann.
Yeah.
Schumann's is now an established coordinator.
Right.
And my issue with Robinson would be like, he's just not quite there yet. He hasn't even been a defensive coordinator yet. Is that his trajectory? 100%.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'd be leery about hiring a position coach, basically. And I know that he had that title of like associate head coach or whatever, but I would be very leery about it. But I mean, I know the team's going to play hard, so I guess we'll just kind of see over the next couple of games in a bowl game. But
and the beauty of a situation like this is that the players then will do one of 2 things. Option A, they just kind of quit and just let it go, whatever, with the rest of the season, or they play for themselves and they work hard and they finish out strong. And you know what? If you could get this team, take care of Abilene Christian, sure, but go on the road and take care of LSU on the road. Something.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would certainly warrant at least a conversation, but still, as much as I love it, and I think it'd be a great feel-good story, I just don't think that's necessarily what's in our best interest. Sure. I mean, that's somebody that you would absolutely kill to keep on staff.
Oh, 100%. I would love to keep him
because not only playing for themselves, you're going to have dudes playing for him because they really like him. I mean, we've seen it out of recruits talking about, I love A&M and I love Coach Robinson. So, my commitment hasn't changed.
Well, the guys that would play for Price, I mean, Terry Price, for the love of God, RIP, but, people love their coaches. They support their coaches.
So Schumann's my take on it.
I'm right there with you.
Schumann would be, if I were in charge. Well, and because again, like, I'm not going to go out and money whip anybody.
No.
How'd that work out for us last time?
It did.
At some point, the boosters will be like, okay, no, I can't support this anymore. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like putting money into a sinking business. That's literally what it is.
Right.
So that's where I think Schumann is so attractive. One, because we've seen this literally work at the school he's at. We've seen it literally work going from one division of the SEC to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be more than intrigued by that hire. I would love it. So really, for me, it's kind of Schumann. After that, I just Chadwell and Traylor just wouldn't be hires that would move the needle for me.
No,
and I know there's
not exactly home run hires, right? Exactly. I mean, it would be cool. Like, I understand the love for Traylor. I understand why it would be cool. Oh, this guy who's so plugged in with Texas high school football, somebody that has the pull in the area, and somebody who really did take a UTSA program, which basically didn't exist, and made it very good in short order with not a lot of resources. So, it's like handing him the keys to the Cadillac and saying, all right, let's get down the road. It might do well, but that's a big fat question mark that doesn't have a lot of proven commodity behind it.
And that's my concern, and this is one where you don't have to go out and hire Dan Lanning, but there will be guys that if you hire will keep a lot of this roster together, and there will be guys that will not keep this roster together.
Yeah.
And that's just those 2 guys, they concern me about that. But I think everybody on the planet would be wildly intrigued if we went out and got Schumann. I think yeah, it's just you're talking about coming from a great coaching tree. You're talking about having national championship experience and trophies and rings, I might add. So that's kind of my take on it, just because where I think we're at. Also, again, money wise, like we're not going to go out and pay 10 million for a coach, and there's, and I'm sure that you can. It's not that we don't have the money, but man, what it would take to buy out Lanning, I think it's like 20 million buyout plus whatever contract you're going to give him, and DeBear, I think I'm saying that right. I don't know, but I think he's got a buyout too, and I just. Again, I'm looking at it through the lens of we're not going to go out and give somebody $9 million a year. So then you have to look at what your realistic options are and what's going to move the needle. And for me, at the top of the list, it's Schumann, just straight up. I mean, I guess Traylor and Chadwell, you could deal with it. If you can go get DeBear for cheap, which I would be shocked if you could. I suppose that's an option, but that's why kind of with all the factors involved, that's like Schumann's my choice.
Yeah, and I agree, and I really do hope that he sees this as a great opportunity to take advantage of, and he comes rolling over here. And I wouldn't be opposed to that one little bit.
Yeah, my only issue with Elko would be one. I mean, and I get that he's at Duke, so I know that he's dealing with a basketball school trying to make a good football program out of it. I get that, but for some reason, I don't know if that splashes enough to me. But again, what do I know? I was happy with the Jimbo hire, so
yeah.
But all right, but we got a ton to talk about though outside of that. So this isn't going to just be like a full 60 minutes talking about coaching searches.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll get sick of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So we can either talk about soccer, hoops, or Premier League, because we got stuff to talk about in all three. Because Aggie Soccer's got a match coming up on Friday, and it's a rematch against Florida State.
Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and go into that since we're on it. Florida State. Should be a fun game. That goal that we had against Colorado, whoo, if you didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it made SportsCenter top 10. It was a goofy goal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you caught the keeper off the line, and it was honestly just a ricochet. Yeah. But if you watch that match, after we kind of weathered the early storm with Colorado kind of assaulting the goal, we just couldn't finish in front of goal. That easily could have been, 3-0 on, for us. So even though the goal itself looked very fluky, I thought the results matched the performance. Yeah. I thought once you got, what kind of weathered the early storm in the first half, I thought A&M's control of the ball, just controlling possession, and really able to continue drive forward while, stopping any kind of massive breaks on a regular basis. I thought, on the flip side of that, Colorado just couldn't stop us moving forward. And so now we get the rematch against FSU, and that was one of those early season, super hard tests for Aggie Soccer that Coach G likes to schedule, and I love them, and that's why I love those tests early on. And so, and you lost to Florida State in the 86th minute. I mean, that game was a 1-1 draw, and that was what number at the time they were top 5.
Well, yeah, and they're 1 seed right now in the tournament. So
yeah, no, they're one of the obviously one of the favorites to win it all.
Yeah. So
you'd love to be at Ellis, but oh well.
Yeah, you would, but I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to college soccer atmospheres, I mean, frankly, from what I've seen, not a lot beats Ellis. I don't know what Florida State's atmosphere looks like, but at the end of the day, go out there, play the best you possibly can, put in a good effort, and it's been good to see them coming back and looking a lot better than they had been in previous seasons. So,
well. Okay. They're not going to be intimidated by an environment because even though it's the playoffs and they'll have more people there, sure, because they play at home and they play in such a rowdy environment, they understand it. Yeah. And quite frankly, that's not the part I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the fact that you're playing a 1 seed.
Yeah, you're very right. You're very right.
But that's on Friday. It'll be on the ESPN Plus network, so I'll be watching that. Yeah. Flip back over to quite the weekend for our basketball teams.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
That win at Ohio State, I thought was such a good win. Ohio State had a down year last year, but Ohio State basketball is still good. And apparently, I didn't know this really before I was really watching the pregame for it. Ohio State had a bunch of injuries last year, and they just they're playing with a depleted squad, and the guys they had hurt were big time players. They were all playing when we played them. But I thought, and that's another one where I thought A&M really weathered an early storm, throughout the first half. You're able to go into the locker room with a lead. And so now you're on the road. And what was Ohio State had a football game the next day, so they have plenty of people in town. That arena seats almost 19,000 people. And I thought it was sold out, but it was loud. It was a hostile environment.
Yeah, I mean, you had 12,000 in the building for the game, but I mean, even with it being 12,000, that's about Reed. I know Reed at peak is like technically 13,000.
Yeah, that's a full Reed.
Yeah, it's a full Reed, and they had a great crowd. They had great energy, but our boys were able to weather the storm. Looked phenomenal. Radford got 21 points, which is always nice. And so did Wade, right?
Well, I think what we saw and right now we're really getting to see this team without Julius Marble, and you hope whatever's going on, he can come back. I will never speculate on what's happening, with a student athlete.
Sure.
It's none of my business, quite frankly. And if the program decides it's not our business, then it's not our business.
Right.
But in the absence of Julius Marble, your thought is, man, I hope Henry Coleman could step up. And man, did Henry Coleman step up. He had such a great game. I thought his persistence in the paint more than anything, because we were way outsized in the paint. The front court was a mismatch for us, and not in a good way, but we were able to, it just honestly, the way he did it was just persistence and grit. Because when you got a dude that's almost 7 feet tall, all of a sudden you're 6'8" and you feel small,
and it doesn't, not a lot of people can make a 6'8" person feel small.
Yeah. So I loved it. I thought it was a great win. I'm assuming Ohio State, it will kind of return to form this season from last year.
Probably,
it's a quad one win on the road.
Yeah, which is Buzz's first.
Yeah,
not for non-conference.
Right, and it's one of those where we've seen the selection committee and how much weight they put on those.
Yep.
So that's one of those where at this point, how much are you rooting for Ohio State to play well this year? You gotta hope that they can stay in that quad one zone, but they should.
They got to keep the Big Ten rolling, baby.
Ohio State was just barely sub 500 last year, and that was an awful year for them. So you expect them to step back up, especially with them having their players back. Man, just an impressive game, just a huge win on the road for we're so used to preseason hype and then let down. And then again, we don't know what Ohio State's going to be like, but recent history shows us they're going to be good. Probably going to be a tournament team. So I thought it was huge. I thought it was gritty. I thought they worked they worked through that win. It was so great to see that. And then we turned around on Sunday, and the ladies welcomed North Texas to town, and they kind of drub them, man. 19-point win. I've been banging this drum since last year. Joni Taylor she's got the program going in the right direction. Just last year, she had like 6 players for like 10 games.
Yeah.
And so basically playing like Iron Man basketball.
Yeah. And you're already off to a 2-0 start. You do have an early test going on the road to Purdue. So another Big Ten road trip. Don't know much about Purdue. Kind of looking at their previous schedule. Okay. Not great.
Yeah, well, again, and just get on the road and it's winning is contagious, and I feel like because everything's there in Reed, if they can both get winning, and like I don't know if you saw any of the pictures or videos or anything coming up from the game yesterday. Some of the men's teams guys were out like hanging out with the Hullabaloo band and like supporting the women playing North Texas, and so they've got a great bond, and winning can be contagious. And if both programs kind of start putting their foot on the gas a little bit, like it'll be really interesting to see how both of them end up, because I think maybe it's just me. I understand that Joni Taylor's in a bit of a rebuild and a kind of a restructure, especially coming off the last year. It's almost just like you almost have to flush last year, but you don't want to because they had some successful moments. They just had to do it under a ridiculous amount of adversity.
Right.
But this year where Buzz is in the program, like this is the year where the foot does need to hit the pedal. It needs to go all the way to the floor.
It does. You were able to make the tournament last year. Unfortunately, get bounced in the first round. And now the question is, all right, how do you respond? You've got all this preseason hype. You have what many people consider to be the best point guard in the country coming into this season, and generally
best junior.
Well, and the door seems to be wide open for A&M to win a regular season SEC title. So you might as well go there and take it. Go make it happen.
Yeah. So it's, I think everybody's excited about what's going on over at Reed, quite frankly.
Yeah, I'm excited for both programs. I'm excited for baseball. I'm excited for softball. I'm excited for a lot of things now. Even football, it's like the doors open. It's a new era now. We can see something else happen, hopefully for the better.
Yeah, it's that new coach smell, man. Everybody loves it. It's the new hire, the coaching search. It's, when you're coming off of something where you had to can your coach, you're looking for something positive. And so, the building and the speculation, all this, it's like talking about preseason rankings in May, like people will still do it. It's still exciting. But unlike the preseason ranking, well, kind of like the preseason rankings, there will be a point where the rubber hits the road. And no matter who we hire, expect somebody to be pissed off.
Oh yeah. Why didn't you go after so-and-so? Well, come on. This guy's more of an Aggie than this guy. Like,
there's so many Ags that they are not happy unless they are absolutely miserable. And so, just kind of prepare yourself for that part of the coaching search. Is just the vitriol being spewed back and forth between Aggies, which is insane to me.
X is full of them.
Huh?
That's a Twitter is full of them.
Yeah. Well, you got that right. Yeah, I mean, there's excitement with all our other programs because of their trajectory. And now there has been a little bit of life injected into the excitement level for Aggie football. One, I think everybody's interested to see Elijah Robinson coach a couple games. He's got a press conference. Like, he's got to go do the head coach's press conference today. That's just part of it, man. You're head coach now.
Yep. Go kill
it. It's exciting, man. Everything seems to be on the up and up. I mean, even volleyball.
Yeah.
I mean, literally every program. Tennis and golf are just continuing their performance. Swimming dive beat Texas in a home meet, I think, for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many great things going on around the athletic department. We're all just like, hey, football, get on board. Yeah, get in, nerd. like
figure it out.
Yeah, just do your part, man.
Exactly.
So I think that's one of the things, though, that we can be really excited about.
I agree.
Is the trajectory we have of the basketball programs. And again, there's a ton of sports at A&M, and if you kind of look across the list, we're doing really well in a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Baseball and I think softball, super exciting seasons to look forward to. And we'll do a breakdown as we get a little bit closer. But I haven't bought my turkey, so we ain't talking baseball yet.
No,
but
I love baseball.
But yeah, and then the season, the first season that that volleyball had. So I think there's a ton of excitement. It's the big one. The big elephant in the room is the one that we want everyone to get figured out.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure, you're not, I don't see a world where you make the move and make that move on Thursday if you didn't already have your guy in mind, at least, or had some kind of handshake or some kind of talk. I have no idea. I truly don't know.
See, the other part of that to me is, like, if it's going to be bad in 3 weeks, then it's bad. Like, if it's still going to be bad in 3 weeks, that means it's bad now. So just do the inevitable and fire the guy, right?
Right.
And maybe part of that. Well, that was part of it. Maybe the other part is, let's be first at the table. There might be some jobs that pop open this year, and let's get our feelers out there first. So maybe if nothing else, they better have a list, right? At any given time, you always have a list in your in your drawer of coaches and that whole thing. It's like if a coordinator leaves, you should have a list of coordinators that you already know that you would like to go after.
Like Ross Bjork wakes up, takes a stretch, logs into Good Bull Hunting to figure out what the heck their little list looks like. Be like, oh, hey, that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe you should call him.
Yeah.
No, they actually have a list. There's no doubt. They are way more in depth with this crap than any of us fans could possibly be. That's their job.
Yeah,
that's what they get paid to do.
That's the reality of their job, quite frankly. So, I mean, obviously the names we talked about, I'm sure are names on the list.
No doubt.
So I just, and the only thing I don't like in today's day and age is just the inability of secrets. Like, it's just impossible for anything to happen anymore.
No,
without anybody running and tattling. So
Jimbo's getting fired. Just so y'all know, Jimbo's getting fired. Get ready.
Well, that had to happen the way it happened. There's a lot back and forth about that, how that had to happen. But quite frankly, it was either
What have we talked? What have we talked about on this podcast for weeks and weeks and weeks? Pulling off the Band-Aid, right?
Yeah.
That's essentially what happened.
If it came as a complete shock to you, I don't know where you've been. If the timing of it caught you off guard, that's fair.
Look, it feels a little funky to can a guy after he wins a game by what, 41 points?
No.
But
No, it doesn't at all. You know why? Because that decision was made no matter how the result was going to be.
Exactly. You're right.
And I think there's got to be a thought process of, like, if we don't do it now and he accidentally wins out, I mean, yikes, right?
Yeah, we definitely didn't need to do that. In fact, that was a funny that the fine folks over at Barstool, Mississippi State posted. They said, "Congratulations, Jimbo. We saved your job for another year." Quote tweeted him that next morning, said, "Man, talk about your all-time backfires."
Yeah, you couldn't even win that one.
Nope. I mean, think about this. How low must you feel as a program? Like, hey, you're going to get trounced by 41 and they're still going to fire that coach. Mississippi State, where do you feel?
But, and quite frankly, Mississippi State's no different than we were when you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand their logic, but if their logic was this isn't going to get any better, then you may as well do it, right?
Right, exactly.
Now, I don't approve of their logic because you didn't even give the guy a season.
Yeah, in that case, I don't necessarily agree. You had him for 1 year. I mean, not even a year.
Yeah, not even a year.
Not even a year.
Right. So that's I'll never understand their logic on that one. No. But under the same vein of just rip the Band-Aid off, I get it.
Oh yeah. So one other subject I definitely wanted to hit on that we were talking about was EPL.
Oh yeah.
Because there were some fun games yesterday.
Yeah, there were some kind of wonker games yesterday.
Like
that the eight match goal between Chelsea and 8-goal match between Chelsea and City was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But for anybody that's not a Chelsea or a City fan, it was wildly entertaining.
Oh, popcorn was being ate, I promise.
Well, and what's funny is if you're a Chelsea fan, you're like, hey, we got a point out of it.
Yeah. It's true.
Because Chelsea is struggling, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting at 16 points. They're behind West Ham in the standings at the moment. Tied with Brentford.
Yeah. But when you're going to play City, do you expect a point? Not generally.
Not generally.
So even though they gave up 4 goals, they're probably thrilled.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, anytime you could, you gave up 4 goals, but you also scored 4 goals, which is, take the positives with the negatives.
Right? Yeah, you gotta be like, well, we gave up 4 goals, but we did get a point.
Well,
and they've been struggling, so sometimes a point against City can go a long way for you mentally.
Well, and it certainly didn't make me cry because that allowed Liverpool to pull within 1 point along with Arsenal, just shy of the top of the table at the moment, as we get set to go to City next week. So, or the next match.
Because the international break now.
Exactly.
Which, man, I love Premier League. I hate international break.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. And I like supporting U.S. soccer. We do talk a bit of soccer on this podcast, of course. But at the end of the day, it's like the friendlies are just that. It's like, it's a fun little exercise. Doesn't mean much.
I want Premier League. I want to see Championship League. Yes. I want to see Europa, and I want to see Europa Conference League. Throw an FA Cup and Carabao. Now you're also adding international breaks. Like, dude, let the U20, like the U23s play the international friendlies.
Why not? Let them go.
Like
develop young talent, man.
Yeah, what a thought.
What a thought.
The American Soccer Academy. The West Ham match was a ton of fun. Got up early, like early. 3rd minute, just kind of a donk, but Brentford fights back to go to 2-1, and then Jared Bowen is inevitable. That guy's just playing out of his mind. James Ward-Prowse is playing great too. He's obviously right now looking like the signing of the season. Is like 9 assists in 15 matches or something like that. I don't know. He's rocking. He's doing what James Ward-Prowse does.
Oh yeah.
And we're top half of the table, and it was a welcome win after what I would call a rough patch. We kind of look like doo-doo. We go and play, Europa and win, and then come play Premier League and lose. And I want hardware, and I get that, but can we just win both?
¿Por qué los dos?
Seriously, yeah, went and played at Olympiacos and looked like doo-doo. Then we turn around and get them in London Stadium and win. So I do love all those. I tell you, that's one of my favorite things about Premier League is it's not just Premier League. You got Carabao, like you got Europa Conference, Europa Champions. Like I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bear on the players once, it's what was it? Was it Pep or Klopp complaining about how many matches there were?
It was Pep.
I'm like, that's because you're in every competition because you're really good. So it's like,
yeah,
that's the pain of your success. I bet you'll make it happen though.
Well, and see, at the end of the day, when you're at a point like when you look at like a city, for example, or if you look at a Real Madrid or a City, yeah, or you go down any of the major clubs, they're all going to be in every single stinking competition. So of course you're going to be tired.
But here's why nobody wants to hear the complaints. Look at your bench. Your bench could probably stay up in the Premier League. Just your bench.
Oh, City's bench easy. Could I mean, they'd probably be top half of the table, if we're being honest. I mean, City, they have funneled so much money. These oil Saudis have foiled so much money into this thing. I mean, they buy just whoever they want. It's like, oh, hey, you're the best striker in the world. Come here.
I know they're coming after Luis Paqueta again. I'm like, man, it's just, and I'll tell you what's frustrating though, from outside of City, pretty much kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Like there's so many good players that we don't get to watch because they're sitting on the bench for City.
Exactly. Well,
like
here's an example. Look at Texas football back in the 60s. Literally what Texas football
there were no limits.
Well, no limits. They would just throw scholarships at kids and say, hey, come here, don't play elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just have a loaded sideline, a bunch of guys winning national titles, but not playing.
You know who I would love to see more in the Premier League is Phil Foden.
Yeah.
I love watching Foden play. You know what? As punchable as he can be, after I found out his whole charitable work, I have a different perspective of Jack Grealish. I'd like to see him play more.
Yeah.
You just think about the players that are on their bench, and you're just like, man, they need to be peppered. Like, and it's whatever, dude. The whole financial fair play stuff is complete crap. And it's crap because of who's getting trouble for it and who's not.
Right. Exactly.
Like, you want to talk about a bias league, and everybody, college football fans don't know the half. Oh, no. You're biased towards the SEC. Bro, you have no idea what bias in sports looks like.
Not at all.
The Premier League is bad about it. It is.
Well, the Premier League's bad about it. And when they talked about that Super League there for a while, I didn't, even as a Liverpool fan, that was one thing I did not care for. I didn't like football. Yeah, it would have been bad. It would have been horrible. It would have been like, honestly, for all you college football guys, like, hey, let's take Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Let's take Florida State, Alabama, Clemson. Let's take A&M, Georgia. We're going to take Texas. We're going to take Oklahoma. We're going to take USC. I guess Oregon. Maybe Washington. They're all going to go be in their own league. The rest of you guys can go fuck off. Bye.
Yeah, like they're not even playing the same bowl games. Like we've now just completely separated them out of college football because we want to make more money, and that's all it came down to. That's all it ever was about, and that's where that's where you're going to get all the complaints out of English football fans, anyways. Is the financial fair play thing has always been a ton of garbage.
Yeah.
And it's just straight up your big six clubs that do it don't get in trouble, and smaller clubs do it and they get slammed to the wall for it. Talking about docking Everton like 12 points, they're going to be in the negative, guy.
Yeah, poor Everton. I'll also screw them.
Well, but then you also see like the stuff with Chelsea. Nothing's going to come of it.
No.
You can't tell me that the money that City spent is above board.
No.
So it's frustrating from I'm not City kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Big Six. Like if you're not a Big Six like fan or supporter, it really rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah, and it is tough.
Well, it is, especially as an American sports fan, because we are subject to these salary caps.
Right.
But you know what our leagues do? They follow the salary caps. I mean, there's some moving stuff around, and they kind of get around some stuff. But man, it drives me batty. But wait, you know what? West Ham's top of the table, or top half of the table right now, which if I can just see the trajectory, even at a 45-degree angle, I would take that. I'd love to be able to I'd always love to be able to get Champions League, but I think realistically, finish top 8. I think winning Europa is still on the table because of how good we are in Europe.
Sure. And Europe has been very beneficial to West Ham.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you look at Liverpool's history, Liverpool's been very good in Europe. You go across it's a fun time. There's a lot of fun sports going on.
Yeah, the only thing I'm complaining about is the international break. Like, if that's my one complaint, I guess I don't have it that bad.
Exactly.
I do. I tell you what, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, and he engaged me about it, but I couldn't do it yesterday morning. But he's talking about, I don't know if you saw him. He was hanging out and watching the match at like Brookshire Brothers. Did you see that?
Outdoor stage 12? Out over there?
I guess he was inside, and like he was there in the morning, and he was there early morning for a match, and he had like a flight of beer and some breakfast food. So Brookshire Brothers, maybe a thing we have to go check out for, and because again, Premier League matches, they start 6:30 in the morning for us. And nothing's open that early, and I don't blame them for not being open that early. But if there was a place that, Premier League fans here in BCS could get together and watch it, like, we might have to give that a shot kind of thing.
See, back in the day, and some of y'all listening might remember, one of the things we used to do was meet up at the corner. When they had the old ownership, they would open bright and early. They wouldn't be serving food or anything, but they would say you could bring whatever you want to bring in. We're going to put the game on, and put all the games on really, and that was a ton of fun. I got to see Liverpool's title hopes slip away in 2014. Literally, thanks Gerard.
Love that for you.
Got to watch that live at that bar.
But apparently, like, they have beer and food, so we might have to go check that. So any Premier League fans that are in BCS area,
we'll give it a look for sure. I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, he took a picture. He's sitting there, and like, game was on, match was on the TV. He had a beer flight in front of him, and what looked to be, I think, a breakfast taco.
I don't think you could beat that for Texas and footy in the morning.
Well, and that's the other thing is, as college football winds down, that frees up some weekends too.
Yeah, well, that is the beauty of the Premier League. It's going to run from August and it's going to run to May. It's going to be that
all
year. So go check it out if you don't.
Well, the best part is, when the Ags are over at Davis Diamond or they're over at Olson, they're not playing at 9 a.m, so you can go to Brookshire's, go have a couple beers, watch the matches, and then walk across the street and hit the Diamond.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's
plural, like
diamonds, plural. Yeah, but that'd be a lot of fun. So yeah. I think that'd be cool. I definitely think we should check it out if they give if I do start getting some off weekends, which those are coming here in December.
I was gonna say they should. I would think they'd start showing up about when we get back from the stinking international break.
Yeah.
So they're not mad about that.
Yeah. No. So upcoming. Yes.
I will say going into the international break with a win feels a lot better than going into it with a loss.
Always. And we won't complain about that either. So fun times. It was real good weekend for soccer on that front. That was a lot of fun to keep up with. But
yes,
as far as upcoming things going on this week, me and my boys are hitting the road. Actually going to the studio this week.
Oh, nice.
Tuesday and Wednesday. So heading out tomorrow. We're gonna go hit the studio over there in Dripping Springs. Western Wind Studios, the great guys out there, great engineers. But we've worked with them on 2 of the new singles already. So we're going to record 2 this time around. And then we are pretty much leaving out from there and starting to shoot back east. We're going to play in Nacogdoches on Thursday, Bonita Creek Hall. Friday will be
just up there last week.
That's right. And
you guys eating at Brendan's?
We're probably going to end up at Spring Creek because they always provide food for us over there.
Oh, okay.
Which is really cool of them to do so. But we're going to go out there Stephenville Friday over there at Twisted J, and we're wrapping up with Stony LaRue over at Four-Way Stop Bar and Grill, whatever. It's over there in Lake Hills, Texas, over there on the northwest side of San Antonio.
So not quite a haul like Wyoming.
No, thank goodness. And and the thing is though, that next week after that for me, I am going all the way to New Mexico for Thanksgiving, and then I'm driving all the way back down here to hop on the bus to go to Oklahoma City.
Dude, where has this month gone? Seriously.
It is blown by, and it's just been an absolutely crazy month.
We're literally almost halfway through November. What the hell?
Yeah.
By the way, I hope everybody had an incredibly fun and safe Veterans Day weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
And thank y'all for all y'all service out there that who are either serving or did serve. I got to retire my flag and replace my flag of the house this weekend. So
awesome.
Had a good weekend.
Yeah. Ended up being a good weekend. When it was all said and done, it was just
tire be damned.
Tire be damned. I mean, I'll be honest. This is the weekend that's going to go down as, oh yeah, that weekend for this band. We'll be honest, because it starts off with Carson driving up and having to stop the bus in Hempstead because the starter was having an issue. So he drops the trailer, throws it on his truck, drives up to College Station to pick us up. We take 2 vehicles to the colony. We come back down. Travis starts having issues with his car because his alternator, which he just got brand new, is not working. I had to replace a headlight. It's just, this is the weekend from hell this past weekend. And yet we have struggled through it, but we got through it. And that's all I can say.
This too shall pass, right?
This too shall pass. You know, what's it? Yeah. God gives his strongest warriors the toughest battles. It's like, please stop.
Yeah, please
stop. I'm on the ground. I'm getting kicked. Leave me alone.
That's funny.
That's fun.
Yeah. Oh, and the Jingle Ball market was a raging success. We set records for attendance and money raised for our charity for the bee community. So I went out there and blew a bunch of money too, because I love some of the vendors out there. But what that does mean is I have started my Christmas shopping.
Yeah,
that's disturbing for me.
That is, yeah. You know, like my general rule is it's always Black Friday. I mean, for me, I am full on go ham Christmas right at the start of Black Friday. By all means.
I don't have any time on Black Friday, because Black Friday we wake up, get everything down. So Black Friday is put up the house day.
Right.
But now this is just a one-off because of when we hold it during the year. But there's some vendors on there that I love getting stuff from. And this year I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get some stuff for my folks too, that I'm sure they'll like it. I like it, so I'm sure they will. But the other exciting thing I will say, although this may be the kind of weekend where some people put their Christmas tree on the curb, I suppose. I bought a new Christmas tree. So it's big of, this is a life thing for me, because I've been holding on to this thing for way too long. I've had this tree since, gosh, 06.
Wow.
So yeah, my Christmas tree that I currently have is almost old enough to drink. So it was probably time to go. So, but very exciting. It's being delivered today. So as much as I am trying to avoid Christmas before Thanksgiving,
that's the joys. That's the joys of getting older, right? It's like, I got my new Christmas tree coming in today. Let's go.
It's the little things, man. And I don't know what's going on with this controversy. It's a conspiracy. Well, I know exactly what's going on. I know why. Go to the store. I went 0 for 5 last week going to stores, plural, looking for a tree that wasn't pre-lit. I want to put lights on my own tree. And the reason you guys are selling pre-lit trees is so every 3 years when the lights break, I have to buy a new one. I'm up to your game. I see you. Christmas tree conspiracy. I just want to light my own tree. They never put enough lights on those anyways.
No, you're right. I prefer lighting my own trees too. But yeah, we've had
bunch of Christmas tree commies.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Man, we totally whiffed on something. We didn't even get a chance to discuss this incredibly good football game coming up with Abilene Christian. What's ever going to happen?
Assuming there's a line we'll cover. Oh, by the way,
there is no line.
I have to say though, it was a ton of fun to watch our offense play like that. And even though like all of us are sick of watching a second, third string quarterback on a regular basis, holy crap, that kid was fun to watch.
He was fun to watch. And you know what? Good on him. You got an opportunity and you dropped, well, no, not individually, but we as a team dropped 51 points on that team. We haven't done that to Mississippi State since Johnny.
Well, And what did it look like they finally did on offense? They let it rip.
They let it rip. The thing we've been saying for freaking weeks. Let it rip.
Yeah, despite what the outcome was for our coach after that game, that was a ton of fun.
Hey,
it was fun to watch.
Hey, and you know what? If that was Jimbo Fisher's swan song for College Station and A&M,
so be it.
So be it. That was a good game to go out on, and we're proud of that.
Look, I think String put this out on Twitter. Like, look, we had some great times, had some really great memories. With Jimbo as our head coach, the Orange Bowl, you know, the 7 overtime game against LSU. Yeah, we had
the walk-off field goal with Alabama,
beating Alabama. Yeah, showing the world we can beat Alabama without Johnny. You know, so there's been some great times, but it just wasn't enough. Again, just didn't get over the hump. But I hope he finds a way to enjoy $70-some million.
Enjoy that bourbon, sir. Enjoy your ranch.
Best job on the planet to fire A&M coach.
Amen to that. So
we got to stop that trend.
Yeah. Hopefully the next guy, hopefully we have him for like 30 years and he wins like 15 national titles and is just sitting there just doing this number the whole time.
We need to find our Saban.
Yes, we do. We do need to find our Saban, and we need to find a ASAP. So let's see how that all pans out. But yeah, if you haven't already, follow us on all of our socials. We have Roy May 15 on Twitter and Rob the Slapper on Twitter. We're both on Instagram as well. Be sure to follow the RedAss podcast on both. We will be posting links for everything. Be sure to go check it out. We do appreciate you guys jumping in on this podcast. And yes,
YouTube, Ribs Real Estate and Ramblings at Triple R.
Triple R.
As always, I'll be coming out with a Monday market update. Our Friday episodes for a couple of weeks, we had a video corruption card, but so it'll be audio, but we'll still be putting out our Friday stuff, our Ribs Real Estate and Ramblings episodes on Fridays as well. So don't forget to tune in and subscribe to that one as well.
And special shout out to CH Lone Star Promo today. They are my dudes that I do a lot of work with, and I love them. They're great. Nice. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Gig 'em.
We're just normal men.
We are just innocent men. Have a great podcast day.
All right. Have a good one.